Subhas Chandra Bose was born on the 23rd of January, 1897, in Cuttack, during a time when the British Empire held firm control over India. His world was shaped by the stark reality of foreign rule, where Indians were often treated as second-class citizens in their own homeland. From a young age, he witnessed the arrogance and racial discrimination of the British, which, planted the seeds of a powerful nationalist spirit within him. These early experiences filled him with a burning desire to see his country free from the shackles of colonialism. He believed deeply that India deserved its own destiny, one that was not dictated by a distant European power. This conviction would guide every significant decision he made throughout his remarkable life. His father wanted him to have a secure and prestigious career, so he was sent to England to study for the Indian Civil Service, which, honestly, was the highest and most coveted administrative position in British India. Subhas was a brilliant student, and with great determination, he passed the difficult examinations with flying colours, securing the 4th rank. However, the prospect of serving the very empire he wished to overthrow created a great internal conflict for him. He could not reconcile his patriotic ideals with the idea of pledging allegiance to the British crown. The call to fight for India's freedom was far stronger than the allure of a comfortable life as a high-ranking official under the British Raj. In a bold and selfless act, Subhas Chandra Bose made the momentous decision to resign from the Indian Civil Service in 1921. This was a shocking move at the time, as it meant turning his back on a life of privilege and security. He wrote to his brother Sarat, explaining that he could not serve two masters and that his true loyalty was to India. Upon his return, he eagerly sought out Mahatma Gandhi and joined the Indian National Congress, the leading organization in the independence movement. His passion, intellect, and unwavering commitment to complete freedom quickly made him a popular and influential figure within the party, especially among the youth who were inspired by his radical ideas. His rise within the Congress was swift and impressive. He was admired for his organizational skills and his powerful oratory, which could galvanize large crowds. He worked closely with other prominent leaders, but always maintained his unique perspective on how freedom should be achieved. While he respected Gandhiji, he did not always agree with the Mahatma's emphasis on non-violence as the only means to an end. Subhas believed that all methods should be considered to oust the British, including seeking help from foreign powers. This fundamental difference in ideology would eventually set him on a collision course with the established leadership of the Congress Party. The ideological chasm between Subhas Chandra Bose and Mahatma Gandhi grew wider over the years. While a majority in the Congress Party followed Gandhiji's path of non-violent civil disobedience, Bose advocated for a more confrontational approach. He felt that the British would only understand the language of force and that India should take advantage of international situations, such as the looming Second World War. This difference came to a head in 1939 when Bose stood for the position of Congress President against Gandhiji's preferred candidate, Pattabhi Sitaramaiah. Despite the Mahatma's opposition, Bose won the election, a clear sign of his immense popularity. However, the victory was short-lived as the internal politics made it impossible for him to function effectively. Feeling constrained and believing that the Congress leadership was not moving decisively enough towards complete independence, Subhas Chandra Bose resigned as president of the Congress in April 1939. He then formed his own political group, the Forward Bloc, to consolidate all the radical anti-British elements within the country. He saw the outbreak of the Second World War as a golden opportunity, a moment of British weakness that India must exploit. His famous slogan was, "England's difficulty is India's opportunity." While the Congress leadership was hesitant to launch a mass movement during the war, Bose began to plan a more direct course of action to liberate his motherland. His revolutionary activities led to his house arrest by the British in Calcutta. The colonial authorities were determined to keep this charismatic and dangerous opponent under lock and key for the duration of the war. However, Subhas Chandra Bose was not a man to be easily contained. He knew that to fight the British effectively, he needed to escape from India and secure international support. In January 1941, he executed a daring and meticulously planned escape. Disguised as a Pathan, he slipped out of his guarded home late at night, embarking on one of the most incredible journeys ever undertaken by a freedom fighter. His perilous journey took him across the rugged terrain of northern India, through Afghanistan and into the Soviet Union. He traveled under an assumed name, facing constant danger of being discovered. His initial hope was to gain support from the Soviets, but they were non-committal. Undeterred, he then made his way to Germany, hoping to forge an alliance with the Axis powers, who were at war with Britain. For Bose, this was a matter of pure pragmatism. He believed in the principle of my enemy's enemy is my friend. His sole objective was to secure military and financial aid to raise an army that could march into India and drive the British out forever. After reaching Germany, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose worked to build support for India's cause. He established the Free India Centre in Berlin and started radio broadcasts to India, inspiring his countrymen with messages of hope and defiance. However, he soon realized that a more direct military campaign against the British in India would be better launched from East Asia. The Japanese had achieved stunning victories against the Allied forces and were now at India's doorstep. In a remarkable feat of endurance and courage, Netaji undertook a treacherous 3-month submarine journey from Germany to Japan in 1943. This dangerous voyage, which took him around the Cape of Good Hope, demonstrated his unwavering commitment to his mission. Upon his arrival in Southeast Asia, he took command of the Indian independence movement there. He revived and reorganized the Indian National Army, also known as the Azad Hind Fauj. This army was primarily composed of Indian prisoners of war who had been captured by the Japanese after the fall of Singapore. These soldiers had been left behind by their British officers and were disillusioned with the empire. Netaji's powerful speeches and charismatic leadership reignited their patriotism. He gave them a new purpose and a new war cry, Chalo Delhi. He inspired them with his vision of a free India, transforming a defeated force into a motivated liberation army. As the supreme commander of the Azad Hind Fauj, Netaji was a truly inspiring leader. He established the Provisional Government of Free India, or Arzi Hukumat-e-Azad Hind, in Singapore in October 1943, which was recognized by 9 Axis-aligned countries. This government had its own currency, stamps, and civil code, presenting itself as the legitimate representative of the Indian people. Netaji's leadership was not just military, it was also deeply spiritual and unifying. He broke down barriers of religion, caste and region within the INA, creating brigades named after leaders like Gandhi, Nehru and Azad, as well as the all-female Rani of Jhansi Regiment. His famous slogan, Jai Hind, became the common greeting for all Indians. The INA, fighting alongside the Japanese army, launched its military campaign into India in 1944. They crossed the Burma-India border and advanced into the northeastern states, hoisting the Indian tricolour on liberated soil in Moirang, Manipur. The battles fought at Imphal and Kohima were some of the most ferocious of the Second World War. The soldiers of the INA fought with incredible bravery and determination, despite facing immense challenges such as monsoon rains, lack of air support, and dwindling supplies. Although the campaign ultimately failed to reach Delhi, the sheer courage and sacrifice of the Azad Hind Fauj created a powerful new chapter in the story of India's struggle for freedom. Following the defeat of Japan and the Axis powers, the dream of marching to Delhi came to an end. The soldiers of the Indian National Army were captured by the victorious British forces. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose himself was reported to have died in a plane crash in Taiwan on the 18th of August 1945, while trying to reach a safe location. Though the INA was defeated on the battlefield, its story was far from over. The British decided to make an example of the captured soldiers by putting them on trial for treason at the iconic Red Fort in Delhi. They chose 3 prominent officers, a Hindu, a Muslim and a Sikh, to symbolize the army's treachery against the crown. This decision backfired spectacularly. The Red Fort trials of 1945-46 captured the imagination of the entire nation. As details of the INA's heroic struggle and Netaji's leadership emerged in the press, public opinion swung decisively in their favor. The men whom the British branded as traitors were hailed as national heroes by the Indian people. There were widespread protests and demonstrations across the country demanding their release. The trials, intended to humiliate the freedom fighters, instead galvanized the Indian population and exposed the deep crack in the loyalty of the Indian Armed Forces, the very pillar of British rule. The impact of the INA's story was most profoundly felt within the British Indian Armed Forces. The tales of Netaji and his army inspired a wave of discontent and rebellion. The most significant of these was the Royal Indian Navy mutiny in February 1946. Sailors in Bombay and Karachi rose in revolt, pulling down the Union Jack and hoisting the flags of the Congress, Muslim League, and the Communist Party. The mutiny quickly spread to 78 ships and 20 shore establishments, involving over 20,000 sailors. This was the final straw for the British. They realized they could no longer rely on Indian soldiers to maintain their empire. The foundation of their rule had crumbled. Years later, when the British Prime Minister Clement Attlee, the man who signed off on India's independence, visited India, he was asked about the real reasons for the British departure. He reportedly stated that the influence of Mahatma Gandhi's non-violent movement was minimal. The primary reason, he admitted, was the erosion of loyalty in the Indian Army and Navy, largely due to the military activities of Subhas Chandra Bose and the INA. Despite this monumental contribution, the story of Netaji and the sacrifices of the Azad Hind Fauj often remain a footnote in mainstream history books. One must question why the narrative of the forgotten army and its leader, who arguably delivered the final decisive blow to the British Empire, is not given the central place it truly deserves in the saga of India's independence.